All right, everybody, welcome back to all the movie lovers and 80s enthusiasts out there. Welcome back to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. I'm Gonzo.
Mike.
We're going to discuss some of the best and worst movies from the 80s, 90s, and beyond. We're really in the 80s here, Mike, right now.
Oh yeah,
And we're going to give you our take on the movies. We probably won't always agree. In fact, I know we won't always agree, right? So we'll make a recommendation on the movie, and then we're also going to give each movie a rating. So our second episode. Well, first let's do what we always have to do here, Mike. To get started, please silence your cell phones. Is your cell phone silenced, Mike?
it is.
We surely don't want to disturb any of our listeners out there, right? So the second episode deserved a real good one. So we're looking today, we're going to look at Karate Kid from 1984. Now, Mike, I did a little looking into this. This movie was praised by critics for the action sequences,
Mhm.
the writing, the themes, performances by individuals, and music. So does that surprise you at all?
Uh, Afterwards, no, but really, this reminded me a lot of like a John Wick,
Yeah.
because when my wife and I went to see John Wick, nobody had heard of it, and it was just like this movie, and this thing blew up, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a commercial success, grossing over 130 million worldwide, and that's in 1984. That's a lot more than what 130 million is today, and that made it one of Hollywood's highest grossing films of 1984. And like you said, it was Hollywood's biggest sleeper hit of the year. Nobody expected it coming. People were like, "What is this thing?" And it just blew up. And in addition, Pat Morita, and we'll talk about him in depth a little bit. He earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in his role as Mr. Miyagi. So yeah, it just blew up. It was a big deal real quick. So Mike, I don't know if you want to remind everybody listening of the general, especially because this is your movie pick that you wanted to review. When we put a list together of our first episodes, you want to cover the plot for everybody real quick?
Sure. And I'll try not to be too long-winded. Sometimes I can go down a rabbit hole, but the gist of it is we're starting off in New Jersey, which I'd forgotten all about. We start off in New Jersey. We got this mom, single mom, her son. They're moving all the way across the country to California, start a new life. Not exactly sure, where the dad is, if the dad is, whatever, what happened with him. So it shows their road trip across. Uh, First, when they get there, he's already making a new friend. Things are looking up, beautiful location. Um, and then he even meets a nice, pretty girl. They seem to
Yeah,
hit it off. They're down at the beach.
that's right.
Uh-oh, here come. And again, I know everything seems like the Lost Boys to me. It's like a Lost Boys scene with the motorcycles. Here come the bad boys.
That's right. That's
Uh,
right.
yeah, they come rolling in. And what we discover is that the ex-boyfriend is Allie, which ends up being the girl's name. It's her ex-boyfriend. We don't know how long ago they broken up. So Daniel just thinks, hey, I've got my new girlfriend. He doesn't realize he's jumping up in the middle of something. So the leader of the bad guys, Johnny, he ends up being a black belt karate expert. Uh, he lets Daniel know in some physical and verbal ways, hey, this isn't for you. Ends up beating Daniel up. So now basically, I don't know how long they've been in town, but it's like the first week he's getting beat up. He's on the wrong side of the toughest guys in the school, and they're not ready to let it go. And it doesn't help that Daniel's a little bit of a smart ass himself, and he's not
Yeah.
going to take things, just lying down. Anyway, so after he's been chased around, bullied quite a bit, the maintenance man that he had a brief interaction with, played by Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi, he takes an interest in Daniel. He sees Daniel one day. He's got a black eye. He's practicing karate from a book. So he's got the sense, okay, I kind of know what's going on here. Later on, Daniel's being chased by the bad guys again. Here comes this shadowy figure out of nowhere, Mr. Miyagi, takes everybody out, takes care of Daniel. And then slowly but surely, they start developing this relationship that's really more like a father-son type of deal, as well as best friends. And he trains him. Not going to get way into it, but he does. He agrees to teach Daniel karate, but he doesn't tell him how he's going to do it. So at first we're thinking, okay, somebody should call Child Protective Services because he's
Yeah,
got Daniel out there sanding his decks, painting his fence, his house, a little bit of
yeah,
everything. What we don't realize is he's building Daniel muscle memory. Uh,
yep, yep.
getting that ingrained in him, and then that was one of the best scenes when Daniel has this epiphany. Mr. Miyagi showing him what's going on. The rest of it is kind of like training montages, more things with their friendship until it gets to the end where Daniel faces off against the bad guy, Johnny, and all of his buddies. Because, of course, in life, we know when a bully faces us, we can always go down to the local karate tournament and hash things out. Uh,
That's right. That's right.
yeah. So in the end, he kicks the bad guy's ass. He gets the girl, and now he's got his new buddy, Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, there you go. And I thought it's a great plot. One thing that to add to that is
Sure.
when he finally wants to train karate, Mr. Miyagi says he will, and he's like, I got to get these guys to leave me alone. And so Mr. Miyagi goes down to the dojo with him, and this dojo was run by a ex special forces Vietnam veteran who's like really hard, right?
Oh
and
yeah,
and so he actually gets the guy to agree to his lead boy alone to train, right?
that's
and
right.
and so that's how Daniel is able to get his training in without constantly being bullied and worried about that. So but the only reason he said he would leave him alone is because he said, hey, you want to square off right now, right there in the dojo? He goes, no, you've got too much of an advantage. And then he looked at the poster, and that's the first time like anyone here has heard of that, this tournament, the
All right.
the, the All Valley under 18 tournament or whatever it's called, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a classic take on a hero's journey. We've got someone making a journey, this is across the country, and then having to face their demons, having to transform himself and come out as a totally different person, right? So that's what I love the plot, because it's really like a classic take on sort of those that hero's journey that we see throughout. You see the thing like that in Star Wars, you see it in all sorts of movies, and in mythology too. So really, really, it's a winner of a plot. It's not, when I think about the plot and how the story goes, and how culture was back then in 1984, I'm not surprised at all, Mike, that it blew up, and it was a big it was a it did very well. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think really my hat's off to what Pat Morita, because who knew? I mean, the only thing I knew about Pat Morita, he was a stand-up comedian back in the day. Never saw any of his stand-up. I know he was on some sitcoms here and there. Never knew he had it in him.
Yeah,
That was he was the heart of the movie.
yeah, he really was. He really, really was. So let me ask you this. When's and I know I was going to ask you, have you ever seen, we're going to ask this for every movie, have you ever seen this movie before? Because there are a couple movies that you gave me on the list that I haven't seen, right? So
Yeah.
but so I'm positive that you had to have seen this movie before you watched it to prep for this, right?
Yeah, I saw this one. It came out in the theater. I was probably in the front row because back in the 80s, for whatever reason, there was something cool about sitting in the front row, even though it ruins your eyes and your neck. So I'm looking up at the movie with my buddies. And back at that time, especially, I was like 13 or 14. We were all into anything karate, ninja, fighting, whatever. I mean, that's just what the 80s was all about.
Yeah, so I'm sure you just saw the name of it. You're like, oh, we got to go see that. We don't even have to
Yep.
see a preview. Just like, we're going to see it. Karate Kid.
Yep.
I'm a kid. I like karate. This is going to be a movie about cool stuff that I like. So yeah, I saw it back when it first came out. two. So I probably would have been like sophomore in high school. So you know, bottom line, my first takeaway from this, like I said, great story, classic plot. But I got to tell you, and I'll talk about this in a minute because we're going to talk about and sort of comment on these characters. But I think this movie, of all the movies that I like, has probably one of the most major casting issues that hands down, probably the most major problem with casting for me. So, what about you? First take on it. I mean, how did you feel coming out of the theater back then in 1984 after straining your neck in the front row?
So typical of all those 80s movies and even the late 70s, all the Rockies, the Karate Kids. Every time you left one of those movies, you felt like you could take on the world. I think it probably had your testosterone surging to unhealthy levels. So the other thing I would say about this, uh, overall, great soundtrack was something I took away from it. And I think you'd mentioned that before. The
Yep.
one song that takes me out of it, and if I could go redo the movie, and I know a lot of people would probably disagree with this, when they ended up at golfing games on their first date, that music is so generic, and I think that's where they saved on the budget because you've got Bananarama, you got Cruel Summer, which was
Yeah.
incredible. You
Yeah.
had You're the Best at the end,
Yep.
and then you got this really bizarre. I swear I don't think I've ever heard that song
It's
anywhere else.
it's so bad I don't even remember it. Like you're
Yeah,
bringing this up, I'm like
yeah,
I can't even picture or think what it would sound like as I'm sitting here thinking. And I just watched the movie a few days ago again. So
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. So I want to talk about now. This is where I have my issue here,
Okay.
going through the characters, right? So the kid who comes across from New Jersey, right,
Mhm.
is Daniel LaRusso, right? That's the one you told the story of the plot. This is our star, right? And our protagonist. And he's played by Ralph Macchio. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. This is my problem with the movie. This almost ruined the entire movie for me because that dude
Mhm.
couldn't kick anybody's ass. He wouldn't win at a tournament. By the
Uh,
end of his 8 or 10 weeks of training and learning karate, his hips are still wider than his shoulders. He is
yeah.
out of shape. He doesn't look like he could run a quarter mile, Mike. I'm telling
Hmm.
you, it almost ruined it. Even back then, I remember back then going, that kid he wouldn't beat any. And I was in high school. I was on the wrestling team at the time. And so to me, I could just look, say, there's no way that we would mop the floor with him if he was on the wrestling team, right?
Right.
This almost ruined it for me. Like
Mhm.
I almost didn't get past it. Um, so I mean, really bad. Were you okay with him in this or what, man?
Well, I think back in the day, especially when you're 13, I think you'll agree when you're 11 and 12, 13, you're willing to accept much more than even 2 or 3 years later. So when you've got young Mike looking up at the screen, I'm just kind of taking it all in. In hindsight, rewatching it, I will absolutely say Ralph Macchio was about in his early 20s when they made this movie. He looks like a middle schooler in this movie compared to everybody else he's around. And I definitely agree with you and anybody else that watched it. It wouldn't have hurt to just throw a few sets of push-ups in there with all the other training just to start bulking them up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and I got to tell you, when I think of this, I've had this discussion with people before, and they say, "Well, Steve, this is the thing. The kid's going to be bullied. He's got to look like someone who could be bullied." But I was talking with someone about this just the other day because they said, "Oh, what's your second episode going to be?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to give it away." And she said, "Just tell me what you're thinking." And I told them about this issue, and
Mhm.
and she said, "Yeah, you know what? It would have been a lot easier to get like a guy who was sort of in shape and to put a big baggie and like hide it. I know they couldn't do like the CGI like they did with Captain America,
Mhm.
and they made a little skinny guy with his face on it. But like back then, like maybe wear a baggy shirt and the guy just looks normal. And then suddenly, and people had asked me like, well, Steve, back then, who would you have play the character? And I just think of because Ralph was in Outsiders, and so
Mhm.
was every other person on the history of the in the history of the world was in Outsiders, right? So I'm like, anyone in that movie
Hmm.
could have done a better job. I would specifically choose probably like maybe an Emilio Estevez or something. He was the
Hmm.
wrestler in Breakfast Club. Like you put a big baggy shirt on him, and then he's generally looked athletic at least. That's what I would have done. So
Yeah. Well,
it kills me. Go ahead, go
to,
ahead.
to, to your point, actually, when you were saying that, I had not even thought about it before. You're talking about that group of guys, and only because Tom Cruise is probably 5'7" or 5'8", but he can play absolutely anything. Can you imagine a young Tom Cruise, even put some horn rimmed glasses on him with some tape in the middle? By the end, he would have been absolutely believable,
Yeah,
just killing it in the
that would
tournament.
be that would be super interesting, like to see how they could do with it. Maybe if they're going to remake anything, that's what they should do, with a better person. But yeah, that almost killed it. Like I remember actually having like I was tormented coming out of the movie. Like I feel like it was a good story, but I feel like
Yeah,
that kid couldn't beat anybody up.
yeah.
So I don't know. That's your character, and his mom, by the way, the lady, she's like, I don't, when we're talking about her name is Lucille in this. She's got a minor role. Some people would call it major, but I don't even really, didn't really even list her on main characters here because
Mhm.
she's just the one who gets in there and gets in trouble and just can't seem to understand why he's not getting along well with everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it almost ruined it for me. It almost ruined it for me. Um, More feelings on him from you? What do you think?
The only thing I would say, I absolutely agree with you on the physicality. I do like him as an actor. I think he brings a warmth to it. But yeah, there was more suspension of disbelief that you had to go through in order to get to where you needed to be to buy the
Yeah.
last scenes.
Yeah, and this his almost or his nominated best supporting actor, Mr. Miyagi.
Hmm.
You already said a little bit about him. I didn't know anything about the stand-up comedy. I do remember him playing where he was like the owner or he was running Arnold's in Happy
Hmm.
Days for a while. And then I remember him actually in a movie called Tora Tora Tora, when it was about the naval battles in the Pacific and
Okay.
like the Battle of Midway and all those. That's probably like a '70s thing, and I just remember it stood out to me because in Tora 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 they they had the Japanese, all the admirals, like on
Mhm.
their big flagship, talking and meeting, and they're like speaking like American English. And like it just struck me, like when he spoke, he was like not a major admiral, but he spoke to the big, the big admiral. He was sort of like maybe his assistant, and when he spoke, I was like, man, that dude's totally American. It's
Hmm.
so but he played off. So I feel like, maybe there's a little bit of an accent, but I feel like he's putting on a big act with this accent, right? He did the same thing
Yeah.
in Happy Days, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He had like an accent or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about, you feel that his role, what justified nomination for best supporting actor?
Absolutely. He's probably one of my favorite movie characters. And it really, I know we're not getting into all the sequels and stuff today, but uh, he is one of the things that makes some of the sequels rewatchable when they otherwise wouldn't be. Because he's, whether it's his sense of humor or or the warmth he brings to it, he's good at that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he proved to me in this movie, this guy could act, right?
Hmm.
Even if sometimes people say things about like John Wayne, like he always played himself.
Yeah.
Um, or so like, yeah, I mean, maybe it was an easy acting job, but I just thought he pulled it off well. It seems like you see this and you're like, I would like to know this guy, like,
Hmm.
the way he acted in this movie and be like, I wish this was my neighbor, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, his voice, if you ever hear his comedy or him in an interview, he has no Japanese accent whatsoever, or he didn't. I mean, he's gone now, but I think he was in his early 50s
Yeah,
when this movie was made. And of course, you have the perspective of the when you and I were teenagers. If you'd have asked me how old he was at that point, I'd said, "Oh God, he's probably almost 70 years old."
yeah. So he did a great job. He probably helps bring me back, like from my torment of having this wimp as the
Mhm.
star who couldn't beat anybody up, right? And then like he sort of gets me there. I'm like, okay, I can stick with the movie because this guy's really really cool. Now, so I want to talk about the next character, like you said, the girl Allie. So,
Mhm.
what else have you seen her in to remind some folks? Because I know there's a couple movies I've seen her in.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, Elizabeth Shue has range. I know she's been in Adventures in Babysitting, which
Yeah.
I could definitely watch that again.
Yep.
And then all the way on the other side, Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have
It's
not.
it's one of those movies. It is incredible. It's dramatic, but it's one of those movies you see it one time, you don't ever want to see it again because it's incredible, but you walk away like, okay, I've got to get out and do something because it is so depressing.
Oh.
So it just shows she can play like the softball roles. She can do the drama. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think of her like I think of Adventures in Babysitting, like you said, and I
Hmm.
go to another one of my go-to movies that like if it's ever on cable and I'm flipping through, I won't turn it off.
Hmm.
Cocktail with Tom Cruise.
Oh man, good call. I
Yeah,
totally forgot about
that
that.
that movie is just a fun movie, right? But
Yes.
but but as far as this one, I mean, I got to tell you, we can talk here, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna say right now,
Uh-huh.
never, Michael,
Yeah.
never would she go out with him. Again, this is another part that's a problem
Uh-huh.
for me. You know,
Yeah.
she's like, I look at her and I'm like, man, like, okay,
Hmm.
this is like one of the pretty girls in high school. Like,
Right.
she's popular, you know,
Yeah.
she's involved in activity. She's a cheerleader. She's pretty.
She
Um,
comes from money.
she comes from money. She's nice,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. That is my opinion. What do you think about?
Oh yeah. And I'm going to throw in something else. I said Ralph Macchio looks like he is in middle school in this movie. Uh, an attractive lady, absolutely. And she probably wasn't very old, but she actually probably looks older than she is in this movie. So some scenes, again, like golfing games, it's almost like the young mother taking her son out to play video games at the golfing game.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
and she doesn't have a ton of acting, like tons and tons of lines, but
Hmm.
she plays the pivotal part and she's there with him and supporting him. And, she's sort
Yeah.
of the crux of the problem because
Hmm.
this doesn't make it any better. That It's not just he's being bullied. He's
Right.
being bullied, but it starts that he's messing around talking with her, like you said.
Yeah.
And then he's still hanging out with her after he gets his butt whooped on the beach.
Yeah.
So it's an issue. But I mean, she does a good job. I do think she's well above his pay grade
Hmm.
in the department of looks. As she wouldn't. I was in high school in the '80s. Girl
Yeah.
like that wouldn't be hanging out with that dude.
Hmm.
So now and then so the main bully here.
Yeah.
We talk about Johnny Lawrence. That's he's played by William Zabka,
Hmm.
and we'll talk a little bit about the TV show going forward at near the end here. But I don't know that I've seen him in too many other things. But there is something. I was just talking to someone, and I can't
Hmm.
remember the movie. What other movie was he in?
Uh, I can't remember the movie. I will say I remember he was in several episodes of How I Met Your Mother, and he
Oh,
was playing himself. They were like, "Hey, you know who's coming over tonight? William Zapka."
oh,
So,
I had no
but
clue. I
yeah.
had no clue, but I think he's a cool guy.
Oh
Frankly,
yeah.
I got to tell you, like this guy, I'd want to be friends with him. And I know that maybe people are judging on me a lot right now from saying that,
Hmm.
but this guy's cool. He's in shape. He rides a motorcycle.
Hmm.
He's got that '80s look, and he's tough. He backs it up. If like if someone wants to get in his face, he's going to go for it, right?
Yeah.
So he's not a wimp. Um, and he had this hot girlfriend, right?
Hmm.
In Elizabeth Shue and Allie. And like I guess it seems like to me it was pretty recent,
Yeah.
the breakup. Like they probably had broken up at the end of the school year, then now in the summer before their senior year or something. But
Mhm.
I think he does a good job. And is he a bully? I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in life, like so many things, it's all in your perspective. It's what side of the fence you're standing on. You can put yourself in his shoes, and like you mentioned, hey, if we're Johnny, we got this new guy. He's coming to our school. He's a little smart ass. It's like he's taken over. He's talking to my girlfriend. Now he definitely went high and to the right. I don't know if I would say he should have quite pulled out the assault he did on the beach, but I can definitely get the perspective. Another thing you can definitely tell about William Zabka, and I think I'm right about this, he is one of the few in the entire movie that had training in karate, and you can see it in the way he moves.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, very, very, yeah. It's totally believable, right? And
Yeah.
that's why it's so bad that in the tournament, I'm like, there's no
Hmm.
way. There's no way. Anybody, the odds on that match would be incredible, right? Like there's zero chance that Danielson can take it. Zero. It's just
Yeah.
never going to happen. Never. Even if Danielson had two friends with him, not going to
Hmm.
happen.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I thought he played. I mean, to play that part, I'm not thinking that he's a bully. Maybe he's a young kid who can't get over this girl, and he's focusing his rage about being uh, pissed about that on
Sure.
on Daniel. But I don't know. Like I feel like things would have simmered down a
Hmm.
bit
Yeah.
if Danielson would have just like left it alone.
Yeah. Well, I
But
will say one last thing I'd say about
yeah,
him is that I don't know about you. I know we grew up in different areas, but back then, bullies were not that good looking. I mean, when you had a bully in high school, he generally looked like what happens when two cousins fall in love. So,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was the hair just perfect, the clothes. But
yeah,
again, I didn't grow up in California, so maybe that's
yeah.
accurate.
I mean, he's definitely the popular kid in school. Like you would know, like everyone, if that kid's in your high school, everybody's going to know him, and he's going to be like, yeah, he's be like the, you know, friends with whoever he wants to, gets along with people, athletic. Because apparently, like, I mean, there's things where they're playing soccer and stuff. So I'm assuming maybe he's a soccer player too, or something.
Yeah.
They don't really go into that except for one scene where Daniel is trying to play soccer and one of the crew trips him. And we'll talk about the crew
Hmm.
in a minute here, but I want to talk about really who I see as the last of the main characters,
Hmm.
John Kreese. This guy is played by Martin Cove, and he does a great job. I think the only thing I remember him from was, is this going to be um, uh, Rambo, like Rambo 2 or
Hmm.
something? Or is the second Rambo movie? I don't remember what it's called. The one in Vietnam, I think.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, so I've seen him in that. I don't know what else he's been in besides the TV show for Cobra Kai, which we'll get to, but I think this guy, he's supposed to be like special forces. They've got a picture in his dojo, right? He's got the machine gun and he's got his green beret on. So, what's your take on Crease?
Kreese, right off the bat, I would say that I totally agree with you in terms of how he played the role. And Mr. Miyagi depended on him so much because you can't have a really interesting good guy if the bad guy is not equally as interesting. If he had been played a weak role, if he had been interesting, fun to watch, you really wouldn't have cared as much about what happened to Mr. Miyagi, what happened to Daniel, because there wouldn't have been enough to play against. So I remember Martin Cove from a bunch of B movies. I could not name one of them. The only kind of strange thing, and of course, anytime you're watching a Karate Kid, whether it's the first movie or like you said, we'll mention some of the sequels in the TV show, you kind of have to take yourself out and you're putting yourself in a world where youth karate is running the city. And
Yeah,
he spends all his time, basically raising up and molding these young men kind of in his image.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think you sort of understand, right? When you go and you see some of the scenes in the dojo and how he's training. I think the
Mhm.
guy who played Lamar in Revenge of the Nerds gets out
Yes.
on the mat and gets whooped by one of Johnny's crew.
Mhm.
It's like face off, and he just whoops him, and like there's no remorse, there's no mercy. That's what they're strike first, strike hard, no
Yeah.
mercy, and you get the feeling like, oh, if this is how they're trained and this is where they spend all their time when they're not riding motorcycles or,
Mhm.
or whatever, you can understand why they're like this, right? I mean, I'm not
Hmm.
saying that people don't have their own responsibility for their actions, but like they're being taught and their parents are sending them this place,
Hmm.
and they've been successful in the tournament. They're being taught like this is how you become successful. You be, no mercy, strike hard, strike fast, strike first, whatever it is.
Hmm.
I mean, so I sort of feel like, yeah, Kreese, like you said, he's molding them, and this is sort of, whether they're the popular group of kids or not, as soon as someone messes with them, they're like, oh, you're done,
Yeah.
right? So I see he's got a huge part. I agree with you. The
Hmm.
movie doesn't go off. So he's like, you think of Star Wars, like he's like the emperor, right? Who's running the
Hmm.
show and training all the bad, the bad Jedi guys that have to be. He's like responsible for this whole attitude here. But I think he does a great job at it, man.
Yeah, and he's like the father, like we said, Mr. Miyagi's like Daniel's father figure.
Yeah.
Kreese is like the father figure for all these guys.
Yeah, yeah, and
They're
all
looking to
these,
him.
yeah, all these guys. Speaking of that, that's Johnny's crew. I got their names all down,
Hmm.
and I think they're all, they're not major pieces, but they're fun to be there, right? It's
Yeah.
Dutch. Dutch is the blonde one who's the
Hmm.
especially like the guy who you're like, this guy's really mean. Like I wouldn't want to get on the mat with him, right? There's Dutch, Bobby, Jimmy, and
Hmm.
Tommy. So he's got a crew. This is 5-on-1 here
Yeah.
when it's like big time bullying time or they're chasing him down or whatever. So
Hmm.
um that's just I think they're funny. I like them. And it's a crew. I would want to be part of that crew in high school, and not be the guy that's got to paste myself up against the wall when they walk by and hope they don't notice me. I
Oh
would
yeah.
want to be walking with them, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about the four of them, and like you said, they're kind of part of the bigger crew. But you're probably like me. I was able to pick out some distinct personalities when I've really paid attention. And Dutch, I love his line, "Hey, points or no points,
Yeah,
you're dead meat."
yeah,
I mean,
that's
I love that. Dutch is absolutely dead or in prison.
yeah, yeah.
There's no question in my mind.
He drank the Kool-Aid from Crease, right?
Yeah, he was all. That's a very good point. He's almost like the successor after Johnny. Uh, I mean, Johnny seems like the favorite, but Dutch is right there. Bobby is like he comes across as I think he's the brunette that seems conflicted. He's
Yeah.
he's like I'm in this, but I'm not quite as in this as you all are.
He's the
And
one who's calling him to say like, hey, okay, he's had enough, right?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
he does that on the beach too.
yeah.
But
You're absolutely right.
and
I was.
and so that's why it's so interesting and I think well done. I'm going to jump ahead because I'm jumping.
Mhm.
It is what it is. In Cobra Kai, they go to him as an adult, and he's like
Yeah.
actually like a preacher.
Absolutely. And I think that was such great casting in
Yes.
terms of where he ended up, given his personality and his temperament.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that whole crew is because you're going to have that, right? When you have a
Yeah.
crew of friends, if you remember being in high school and having a crew of your friends, there's someone who's totally extreme and someone who's a little bit, hey guys, chill out a bit, and there's other people who are just like, well, okay, the other two, it's like if we want to get crazy, they'll do it, and then
Hmm.
if we don't want to get crazy, they're just like, hey, I'm good for it. I'll do whatever y'all want because I'm
Sure.
I'm following you,
Hmm.
and we're bros. So pretty cool fun bunch of guys to hang out with, all with motorcycles. It makes me feel like they are from the right side of the tracks,
Oh,
not the
yeah.
wrong side of the tracks. Because right,
Hmm.
uh, Daniel's living in Reseda, which I'm not from California, but this is like sort of the lower neighborhood in terms of
Hmm.
income, etc. Which makes sense because his mom, is a single mom trying to make her way in a new company or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so um, okay, I want to talk now, what's your favorite scene, favorite part of this movie? Because this is
Yeah.
huge. There's a lot of them that you could choose from.
Yeah. Well, I'm torn. I'll tell you, when 13-year-old Mike watched this movie, you could basically say my favorite scene was any of the scenes where they were fighting. Uh, I rewatch this movie and it hits me completely different because you end up in a different place in life. Kind of like the Rocky movies. When you watch the Rocky movies, you're young. I want to see the action. I want to see the fights. Uh, Now I look at them and I'm torn. I have two favorite scenes. One is Daniel's birthday.
Okay.
And you're going to think I'm so crazy for this being my favorite
I
scene.
already do. Just from when you said that, I'm already thinking, what the hell is he talking about here?
Oh yeah, they roll out, and Mr. Miyagi takes them out to all the classic cars that Daniel's already spent time washing, waxing. You can tell throughout the movie he's had his eyes on the yellow car, and he puts him. He says he takes him out and says, "Choose." He basically says, "You can have whatever car you want. This is for you." And it's just like a dad would do for his son. Like, I'm giving you your first car. So he puts him in there, and Daniel's got to take off because he's late for his birthday party. But he's looking at him. And when Daniel looks over, and I remember this even at 13, he looks over and he said, tells Mr. Miyagi, he said, "You're the best friend I've ever had." And Mr. Miyagi said, "You pretty okay too."
Yeah.
And young Mike, tough Mike, you always try to be tough when you're a teenage boy. And I'm sitting there trying to suppress. I'm blowing snot bubbles. The tears are welling up, and I'm like, "Hey, I've got something. Can somebody give me a tissue?" That and the other scene where Daniel comes in. And Mr. Miyagi, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong about this. I think it's his wife's birthday or his anniversary.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's the anniversary, but either way, I get
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and you can tell Mr. Miyagi is plowed. He's tied on several, and that's when Daniel really learns a lot about him. I mean, he's a Medal of Honor winner. His Some of his people were put in internment camps back, in the early 1900s around World War II. He lost his wife, just everything, and that really cements it for me. If you take away those scenes, for me, it's more of just a good karate movie. It's more of just a good action, but it's a throwaway movie if you
Yeah.
take away that relationship for me.
Okay. Okay. You're getting a little soft on me there, Mike.
I
That's all
know
right.
I'm.
But
Woo!
so yeah, no, and it was, he did win a Congressional Medal of Honor, and I remember it ended up being his wife was taken to those one of those internment camps while she was pregnant with
Mhm.
what would have been his son and died. Both of them died during the process of childbirth. So that wrecked him, right?
Yeah.
And that's I guess that's how he ends up, as a recluse, sort of keeping to himself, being a
Mhm.
maintenance man in this little apartment complex in Reseda in California. So, all right, I hear you. You're going to the soft side for your favorite scene. I'm going to tell you what. My favorite. It's not scene. It's like the part of the movie, and I got to explain this. It's from like
Mhm.
you know this such where this movie turns for me. What the hell is Daniel doing when he
Mhm.
goes in? He goes to the Halloween dance
Oh
dressed
yeah.
dressed as a shower, right? Because
Uh-huh.
and you can see it in the back where in Mr. Miyagi, all this shower stuff hanging. He's like, "Oh, I'd go if I was invisible," because he's just scared of these guys.
Right.
And Mr. Miyagi's like, "Oh, I got you. I can build this costume for you."
Mhm.
And then he goes to this thing. Okay, that's fine. One, it's ridiculous. Allie's like with her girlfriends, and she's like, "That's Daniel." They're like, "How do you know?" She was like, "I just know Daniel." Like, and I'm like, "What do you mean? What about his
uh,
personality has told you he's
right.
going to come to this thing as a shower? Like, he's such a creative, interesting guy. I don't get it. That's
Yeah.
that's a throwaway for me. But anyway,
Mhm.
so he goes in the bathroom. He's got to take a pee or whatever, and he sees Johnny is in one of the stalls
Mhm.
rolling joints,
Yeah.
and so he's going to poke the damn bear, and he's going to put a water hose that's hooked up in this thing over top of Johnny. And while Johnny's in his costume with a joint in his mouth, rolling up other joints, his buddies have checked on him. "Hurry up, man, let's go." And he's like, "Give me a few minutes, I'm almost done." And he turns the water on. So he's starting it. This is a problem. This is the whole problem. This is why I say, like, I don't know that Johnny's a bully now. Because I think basically if they don't see him, I don't think anything's going to happen. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
This guy, because this is before, and this leads to him running, and so he runs. Allie trips the guys chasing him. If you'll
Mhm.
remember, right in the gym where the
Yeah.
dance is, and they all fall over, which is fake. They wouldn't have all fallen, but bottom line is, and then Daniel goes out in the parking lot with this stupid shower costume and causes like three car wrecks, and then runs down, and then I guess he ditches the costume and he's running, and his weak, out of shape ass
Mhm.
cannot get away, and they They hunt him down like a pack of wolves. And right when he's about ready to get to his neighborhood, jump over the fence, that's when they grab him.
Yeah.
And they are beating him up. And this is when who was it? Bobby was the nice guy.
Yeah.
Bobby's trying to say, man, they are whooping him, and they're actually like holding him and just putting a serious, like, this is like major assault. And but you could argue he deserves it, Mike. But
Yeah.
so, and Bobby's like, hey, he has had enough. He has had enough. Like, you got, this is gonna kill him, right? I mean, so Bobby's doing his best to chill him out. He had had enough. But then
Right.
this is where he's rescued by Mr. Miyagi. That when you talked about the
Mhm.
plot, he comes in and whoops them all and makes them, you know, make short work of the five of them. And they're all
Mhm.
like, I love this in movies. Like, I don't know if they still do this. I don't think I see it
Mhm.
much anymore, but they had all these movies in the 80s and 70s where like one guy would beat up a bunch of people and then the other people, they're just laying down rocking back and forth on the ground for like, how
Yeah.
long does this last, and
Hmm.
you just leave them there. So I'd like to see the aftermath of that, them getting up. But I like this because I feel like he got what he deserved.
Yeah.
And it showed us for the first point, hey, because like when Mr. Miyagi's fixing him up in his apartment, he's like, hey, where'd Spider-Man go?
Hmm.
And he was like, what? That was you, right? So
Hmm.
that's my favorite part. And it's probably my biggest defense of why I feel a little uncomfortable calling these guys bullies,
Hmm.
because he just soaked all their weed that they're having for their big
All right.
Halloween party and got Johnny soaked in the middle of this bit. It was tried to embarrass him in front of the school,
Yeah.
and he paid for it. So don't poke the bear is the message I'm getting from that, right? So
Yeah. So
that's
I'll
my
throw,
that's my scene right there.
absolutely. And I'll throw in a couple of things there. I will say that is my favorite fight scene. I like that fight scene, if you can call it that, because like you said, he just went straight to their ass in that scene.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't a fight. But that was my favorite fight scene. Two things I'll note. Given the temperament of the Cobra Kai, I was like, okay, these guys, okay, it's the middle of the 80s. They're going to be binging on coke. These are not the kind of guys that are going to be rolling joints, given their temperament. That's one thing that I noticed. And the only other thing, and I understand the movie's got to happen, but the thing I would fault Daniel with is, hey, I love what he did. Like you said, it goes back and forth between Cobra Kai and Daniel the whole movie. He had no escape plan, and that probably occurred to you too. Like, hey, that's great. What's your plan for afterwards? Because you got a whole gang coming after you.
Yeah. And you're not in shape.
No.
And it's like you can't outrun him. It was hilarious. Like, you're like, oh, they're going to catch him. He's in big trouble, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that scene right there, I'm like, so much puts fault on him for him just being a knucklehead, right? So
Yeah.
getting himself in a situation. So people, listeners out there, I'm telling you, don't poke the bear, right? You got to be smarter than that. And I gotta mention, and you already talked about it when we discussed the plot, the wax on wax off scene where he's got
Hmm.
the muscle memory and he Mr. Miyagi like puts it all together and kicks him. I mean, that's a great scene.
Oh yeah.
We couldn't have this without talking about it.
Hmm.
And it just occurs to me like how well that was put together with the movements they had him going through. Way better than the remake
Yeah.
with Jackie Chan. It was like,
Hmm.
put your coat on, put your coat on, hang the coat up, it was
Yeah.
really bad. I don't know. Have you even seen that remake that Jackie Chan did with, it was what, Will Smith's son?
Yeah, it's one of those movies, kind of like The Godfather, kind of like Scarface, that you don't need a remake of. And to your point, I love that choreography with that.
Yeah,
And you probably were aware of this too. I did like the way Mr. Miyagi was talking about how karate came from China, because if you look at so many of the moves he was teaching Daniel, about half of those were more kung fu
yeah,
than traditional karate. So
yeah.
I thought it was good that they sort of laid the groundwork.
Yeah,
Uh,
and he's like actually like an Okinawa guy, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah, so I thought that's a great scene. The muscle memory, it makes sense to me because they'd say like in most sports, if you do it for 10,000 hours, or if you
Hmm.
do the practice, like you're just going to automatically be able to do that. You're going to know you're gonna be automatically do it. So it makes sense to me. I think a lot of people think it's sort of corny and cheesy. I thought it was a cool scene when it puts it all together. That
Yeah.
really hit me. I was like, oh, like so like he has an epiphany there. Like he's like, come back tomorrow.
Hmm.
Like he's like, oh, I have been training. I haven't just been his little slave doing all his work,
Yeah.
right, in his house. Because he was
Yeah.
really doubting, right?
Hmm.
And I like at the end of that, they bow and Mr.
Hmm.
Miyagi, I love he goes, he goes, look, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Always look at.
yeah, yeah. So that's I don't know, that's pretty good. I feel like I'm leaning more towards fighting stuff for favorite scenes, and you lean more towards like the relationship and all that. So,
Yeah,
um,
but again, it's different perspectives from like when I was a teenager versus
sure,
now.
sure,
Yeah.
of course. So least favorite part or stupidest scene. I got to say, I'm gonna
Mhm.
start here. This is the stupidest thing ever. We're there on the beach. And I even like when he takes Daniel to the beach and just goes, go stand in the waves and just stand up out there. And the waves are
Mhm.
coming in. It's California. It's not East Coast like where we're at. The waves are small.
Yeah.
We're talking big waves. And he's in there and he's learning balance. I'm like, I'm cool with that, right? And then
Yeah.
they show Mr. Miyagi practicing the one, no can defend, right?
Hmm.
So he's practicing that. I forget what does he call that?
It's a crane technique.
The crane technique, right?
Yeah.
And so he's doing it sitting on top of a pole that's like I forget what we're talking about, but it's like the big
Hmm.
um
Like a pier type
yeah,
of.
yeah, the pier pole. I'm losing the word for it, but then so they have this good training session. I feel like it was good. I'm good with it. Beautiful scene. I it's like the sunset, right? Because it's West Coast, so the sun's going down. So they're doing this in the evening, and then there's these like 50-year-old guys. It looks like these two or three, maybe two,
Yeah.
50-year-old guys sitting drinking beer out in public, just
Yeah.
standing there. There's no indication that they have a car or anything.
Hmm.
It's like an empty parking lot, and they're laying their empty beer bottles on Mr. Miyagi's pickup truck.
Yeah.
And like he's like, hey, please remove the bottles. And they're like, what are
Hmm.
you gonna do about it? Like, how are guys
Hmm.
this old gonna be like? I
Right.
don't get it. I don't get why we need this. And then
Yeah.
totally unrealistic. He goes, ah, and he breaks
Uh-huh.
the bottles, the tops off the bottles, and the guys freak out and clean it all up.
Yeah.
Is this the proof? I just saw him doing the crane kicks on top of
Hmm.
the pier thing. And I saw him beat these five kids up. I'm
Yeah.
confident in his skills. I don't need to
Right.
see some fake sugar glass bottles getting cut and broken or whatever, right?
Hmm.
I think there's no reason you take that scene out for me. Just end it with the beach and they're walking off the beach toward the car. End it. I don't know why someone had to put that there.
Yeah.
What was your take on that scene? Is that even?
I agree. I could have taken it or left it. What I really liked about it though wasn't the actual scene. It's when they got in the truck and he said, "How did you do that?" And Mr. Miyagi's like, "Don't know. First time." I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"That's incredible.
it is.
That's a great line."
He's got a lot of good one-liners. I'll give you that. But to put that whole scene together just to have that funny moment, I don't get it. I don't get it. I think it's
Yeah.
stupid. But so your least favorite, what is it going to be, man? Or
Yeah.
stupidest
Well,
scene?
I think this is going to surprise you, and I've got to find the right term because it's not my least favorite part, and I wouldn't say it's stupid, but anybody that's taken more than a handful of karate classes, the part, and I will tell you, when I was 13 years old, and it gets to that final scene, and when you figure out what the last move he's going to do is against a multi-year champion black belt of karate, that
Yeah.
crane, anybody's taken much karate, it's a jumping front snap kick. It's not like this esoteric like, oh, 500 years these came out of our family
But
scrolls.
Mike, if do right, no can defend.
That's what they tell me. So as I'm watching this, there were a couple of different things that occurred to me. I'm like, okay, he's standing there on one leg. His arms are out to the side. There are only so many things that are going to happen here, and it's going to be a kick. So the fact that Johnny basically runs in and headbutts his foot,
Yeah.
and then everything is just over. I understand the movie had to happen. They needed a nice, tight ending that just defined that moment. Uh, I even 13-year-old Mike is I am so anticipating what this technique is going to be. And then when it's like, oh, they're doing the front snap kick off the when he was on the beach. I was like, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and with his hurt knee, right?
Right.
The knee's
And
already hurt. I don't know which one he's kicking with and which one he's standing on, but like he would have with a hurt leg already. This is going to be like a very low impact kick. It's not going to be
mhm.
very effective.
And you bring up that was the other point I wanted to say. You nailed it. Okay, if I'm Johnny, what am I going to do? I'm going to sweep the other leg. He's only standing on one leg.
Yeah,
I've taken the other one out.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
When you say sweep the leg, it makes me think um, doing a little jujitsu in years
Hmm.
past. I went to some tournaments as an adult, and that's where I first saw a gentleman who was in a much heavier weight class than me, with the infamous T-shirt with a picture of Crease's face on it, and it says under his thing, "Sweep the leg." And this
Hmm.
guy is at a jujitsu tournament. So I walked up to him, I was like, dude, this shirt is awesome. Where'd you
Oh
get this
yeah.
thing? It was the best, right? So, and I wanted one, and I told my wife about it. I said, like, go search online, get me one for Christmas. She's like, no, that's a mean guy. Like, she hates Crease, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
I will never get you that shirt. She thinks it would make me a bully or
uh,
something now, just to own it, right? She
yeah.
she sees no humor in the whole thing. So,
Sure.
yeah, it's crazy. So okay, what additional comments do you have about this flick? It seems like we both liked it, man.
Oh, absolutely. You hit on it just then. And I'm the same way, even though I said I thought they went a little hard on Daniel in some ways. I mean, they could have pretty much killed him during that hazy scene next to the fence when he was running. But I will say, and I'm the same way, if I were dressing up for Halloween, if there's somebody I want to be in this movie, it's Cobra Kai or it's Sensei Kreese. I mean, because they have the good lines, they have the attitude, they have the coolest geese. So that's what comes to mind.
And totally cool as a crew, totally cool Halloween costumes, right?
Oh
they're,
yeah.
they're all a bunch of skeletons and they paint their
Yep.
face. I was like, man, these guys are cool, man. I'm wanting to
Hmm.
I'm wanting to hang out with them, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, for me, if I'm talking about additional comments, I feel like, and I know, maybe you can chime in, but like, listen, the sequels to me were all trash, right? um and like, I can't even remember specifically what happened in any of them.
Hmm.
The remake with Jackie Chan, like you said, bro, not needed, not needed. Why are we doing this, right?
Yeah.
Now, I could see if this was an old black and white movie from the 40s and someone says, let's bring it to, but it's just 84, right?
Hmm.
I know to some people, maybe even some people listening, they think 84 is a long time ago. To me, I feel like it's yesterday, man. I mean, I can remember the 80s like the back of my hand. So remake not needed. Cobra Kai show, though, that
Hmm.
came back on Netflix, loved it. Give it a huge thumbs up. And it really turns around who's really at least in season one, right? Who's the protagonist is Johnny now.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and but I think I gave it such a thumbs up, that the Cobra Kai show, because it is funny. It
Hmm.
makes fun of the 80s. It makes fun of those times. It it is nostalgic. It brings you back
Hmm.
to all the things like Johnny's, the cars he gets and everything. And it definitely doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, in there, they're like, hey, this is not a drama going up for an academy. We're having
Hmm.
fun with this thing, man. So I
Oh
would
yeah.
tell anybody, man, watch the Karate Kid. I don't like the sequels. How about you?
Hmm. Uh, I like the sequels, but for different reason. Because I agree, this movie could stand alone, and they never needed to make anything else. I watch them now for the same reason I watch Rocky 3, for the same reason I'll watch maybe Rambo 3 or 4, because, and I was thinking about this movie compared to other movies, and a lot of movies that got started in the 80s did this. Whether you're talking about Rocky, and I realize Rocky started in the late 70s, but Rambo Die Hard, they all start with this character that you get totally invested in. You're into the story. It's, it's got everything. It's got acting, action, everything. With every one of these movies, with each successive sequel, it gets more cartoonish to the point where you get to the third, fourth, fifth movie out, and you're not even in the same universe anymore.
Yeah, if I think of this for sequels, for the Karate Kid sequels, like, man, come on, like, you didn't push any iron up in between these movies. Like, you just try to get a little bit better. Like, now you're fighting guys in Japan who are like masters. They're not high school kids. These are adult, mean, nasty people who have like seventh degree black belts, and your little weak ass is can hang with him? No way, bro. He looked weaker in some of the sequels than he did in the first one, and that's saying something, man.
Steve, you brought up such a great point because to what I was talking about with the front jump and snap kick,
Yeah,
every movie they would have Mr. Miyagi introduce another fundamental, foundational, basic technique like it was something straight out of the Ninja Scrolls.
yeah.
I remember the second movie, the technique he learned that helped him win the fight was how to parry a punch.
Oh my
I
God.
remember he was spinning and
Yeah.
parrying punches, and that was the big reveal.
That was it. That
Yeah,
was see, it's they're so bad to me, I don't even remember. I would have to. I know they did bring some of the actors back,
yeah.
um, uh, who were his enemies in the sequels
Hmm.
to the Cobra Kai show. But and frankly, I just had to learn who those people were just by watching the show because I don't even remember from the
Yeah.
sequels, right? Um, so I think it stands on its own. This
Hmm.
happens too much these days where people are like we're making a sequel here. So
Yeah.
overall take, I'm going to say, I like the movie. I could somehow get over it,
Hmm.
even though the major casting issue. I thought all the rest of the casting was great.
Yeah.
The rest of it was. I feel like I remember feeling like if you would have asked me when I first saw that movie, I'm like, he has family in Hollywood that's
Hmm.
high up, and someone was like, "We're giving him this role." Like
Yeah.
someone paid serious money. It's like it makes me think of The Godfather, right? When that guy
Uh,
wants to be his little nephew wants to be in the movie, and he
yeah.
sends the guy out and they kill the horse and everything. Like like
Hmm.
like someone of power was like, "No, we want him. We're going to do what it takes. We're going to put him in there.
Yeah.
You do it as a favor, right?" So
Uh-huh.
something like that. That's the but my overall take. It's a good movie, even with that major issue.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this movie holds up. I think you could watch it today, and because it's not relying on a bunch of special effects, it's not leaning on anything other than some good fight scenes and a good relationship. And like you said, the hero's journey. You could watch it today, and I can't say that, and I'm sure you can't either. I will admit there are some movies that I loved from the '80s. I won't call them out by name, at least not right now. Uh, that if I'm being honest, if somebody said, "Should I go watch that?" Be like, "Hey, I loved it." You would probably hate it
Yeah, yeah.
because it's just not going to hold up. And the reason I like some of those movies is because just they hit me at the right time when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that hero's journey thing, that Joseph Campbell type of idea, like to me, no, it doesn't have every single element, but it has a lot of them, and it's like people gravitate towards that type of story. They like to see that transformation, someone making themselves better. So,
Yep.
I mean, that's why you could watch it today. You could show it to some kids today and say, "Hey, watch this movie," and they'll be like, "Oh, that was cool." Like at the end, people naturally like that type of story. So,
Mhm.
so your recommendation then, watch it or trash it. If you've got that video cassette sitting on your
Yeah.
coffee table, Mike, what say you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Watch it. This is one of those movies where, and I know you and I have several of these movies. If I'm scrolling through, seeing what's on, and no matter where this lands, I can watch a few minutes of it, if not the rest of the movie.
For sure, for sure. And for some reason, it just popped into my head. Sort of cool scene, but I don't like it again.
Hmm.
Is I don't know why I'm going on a tangent here, but
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi, I could see his character practicing trying to catch the fly in the chopsticks,
Uh-huh.
but Danielson wouldn't have been able to do it. Come on,
Hmm.
bro. That's the problem with
Oh
this.
yeah.
But still, I'm going to say watch it because there's enough.
Yeah.
As we keep thinking about it, and we watched it recently,
Yeah.
and we keep coming up with these little quirky funny scenes that make us laugh or make me, mad because this kid couldn't have been able to do any of that. He go
Mhm.
begin of luck, right? Or something like that.
Right.
But I say watch it. If you haven't seen it, especially, oh, you have to
Mhm.
watch this because this is I consider it an 80s classic 100%. So now we're going to go to our ratings, Michael.
Mhm.
So again, we've got it's a 5-tier rating system. So the middle one's sort of like, think about A, like grades in school, right? A, B, C, D,
Mhm.
E. So um, so the E is bathroom break. Like you don't even need to be in the room, just don't
Mhm.
be there. The D grade is like, hey, no snacks. Maybe it's on, maybe it's whatever. I'm talking, I'm scrolling on my phone or something, right? The middle rating would be like that C, which I'd say average, it's decent, yeah, it's okay, right? That's we're gonna call that a Coke. Then we're going to go to better than average, a Coke and a popcorn. So I'm having a Coke, I'm eating some popcorn. I always put butter on popcorn, a lot of salt, way too much salt. What about you?
Same. Yeah, if
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, might as well do it right.
Yeah, that's right. And then that's what they do to you because then you need more Coke, right? Because
Yeah.
you got all that salt, but it tastes great. So, and the top, like this is like the best movie. This is a super classic, great, awesome movie. It's going to be a Coke popcorn, and for me, a box of Raisinets.
Mhm.
So those are the ratings. I'm going to start, Mike. I'm going to give this a Coke and popcorn. I
Mhm.
can't go to the Raisinets. I can't go to this a great movie, and it's all because of the casting issue and because
Mhm.
you know he wouldn't have caught the fly. He wouldn't, just he didn't even get in shape over the movie. It's for me that hurt it. It would have been if it was my man Emilio Estevez in there, like I said earlier, and then he had a baggy shirt, and
Mhm.
then suddenly he's athletic and he's training. I'm going to give it the box of Raisinets. But for me right now, Coke and popcorn. So it's
Okay.
a B. It's a B.
Sure. I'm going to give it a cherry Coke,
Ooh,
popcorn, clogging up your arteries, and a box of goobers versus the Raisinets.
ooh,
Uh, and I realize part of it is because it just hit me at just the right time. You know,
yeah,
when you're in middle school, you're just starting to get any level of discernment because up to that point they could show you a SpongeBob cartoon and you're on fire. But I really liked it. And like you said, we're not always going to agree on things. I probably lean into the cornball moments a little more than you do
yeah,
in terms of the knocking off the tops of the bottle. But like you said, it's not everybody's cup of tea. But yeah, I was a big fan. And this was, like you said, this was the first one on my list, Steve. The
yeah.
first one that came to mind.
Yeah, there you go. And I get it. A lot of it for you is the relationship part
Yeah,
too. A lot of my hang up is not the my hang up. I'm good with it. My hang up
sure.
is just the casting and this guy being a wimp.
Mhm.
But I get it. I think that really that put it over the top for you, that relationship there. So
Yeah.
all right, man. I think we about hit that. So you're going to give
Yeah.
it the highest rating. Pretty special there.
Oh, yeah.
So hey, thanks everybody for listening to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. If you enjoyed this episode or even our first episode, please follow or subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And if you have a movie that you'd like us to watch, or maybe just a comment, or even if you want to send us some money out of the kindness of your heart, just because we're not rich men and we could always use it. You can shoot us an email at gonzomikevcr@gmail.com. We're going to check it once daily. Again, that's gonzomikevcr@gmail.com. Now, Mike, in our next episode, we're going to look at a movie that wasn't really a blockbuster, but it was classic 80s through and through. And one of my personal favorites back in the day. You want to tell them what it is, Mike?
It's Can't Buy Me Love, Steve.
Yeah. I love this movie, so I might even watch that tonight in preparation for this thing. Um, well, folks, looks like that's a wrap. I'm Gonzo.
I'm Mike.
Until next time, keep watching movies. Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR is produced by Gonzo and Mike. All rights reserved.